Hi, I'm Mara Webster with In Creative Company, and I'm so thrilled today to be joined by Randall Park and Melissa Fumero to talk all about the Netflix series Blockbuster. And Randall, in starting with talking a little bit about Timmy, he's kind of at this cross section in life where he's absolutely loved working at Blockbuster since he was in seventh grade, and he's trying to still kind of honor and find that passion and joy. And yet, in taking ownership, there's this real pressure cooker situation that just starts gradually building more and more every episode throughout the season. And kind of knowing that you were carrying him to a point of questioning, what he was ever doing and referring to it as a cursed monkey paw of a business. How did you want to kind of look at those two different sides of the moments where he's just like absolutely living his dream, and then where the pressure cooker situation just starts to override that more and more for him?
Yeah, I mean, I think for me that was the fun of the character, in a lot of ways. It really was about kind of him holding on to something that was meaningful to him, and I think it was just more than the story. It was these relationships, these the connection to the community. It was all these things that are so important to him and that he thinks are important for everybody, and with the store, the challenges of keeping it open. I think they kind of symbolize the challenges of just, maintaining this kind of simple, very human way of life, and I think that, yeah, to me, it was an important journey for him, but also for like our world right now to see, it's really about just connection and people.
Absolutely. And Melissa, I wanted to ask you a little bit about developing Eliza, because she's obviously also kind of at this real intersection where she had so many hopes and dreams and such a specific path in life in terms of her relationship, her marriage, who she is as a mother and professionally. And none of those things are in the space where she envisioned them to be, and she actually kind of in the opposite way, like realizes that she needs this setting and the stability of Blockbuster and this family and community more than she even realized. So in building her closer to that point towards the end of the season, where did you kind of want to start her, and where did you see that emotional trajectory gradually building where it just becomes even more of an important part to her as the show goes on?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you nailed it. And it was thankfully, it was really there for me on the page and in the scripts. I do feel like she kind of starts off the season really lost and really trying to figure out a lot of things. And then towards the end of the season, it's those little moments where we see certain things getting clearer for her getting a little bit more tuned in and even starting to view, I think she starts off seeing Blockbuster in the job as like the thing she had to do to survive, and how can she be here to like this journey of, this is exactly where I'm supposed to be, maybe. And that was just really, again, it was all there for me in the scripts, but it was fun to just kind of play that arc with her. And hopefully we get to do more. And because I think that there's so much more fun stuff to explore with her. And, she's a character that even though I'm playing her, I'm like rooting for her to figure stuff out. I think that will be really fun to watch. So yeah, hopefully we get to do more.
I hope so too. And for both of you, I wanted to ask about finding the specificity of what the chemistry between the two of them looks like as people who've known each other for so long. And in essence, kind of both are on this journey of thinking that they have unrequited feelings that they're trying to hide from one another, because you're also both tasked with creating a very different chemistry to their other relationships. When Timmy starts dating someone in the show, that looks very different, even though it still feels very real, and Melissa trying to rekindle with her husband as well. And so how did you find what you wanted the specificity of their intimacy to look like, both on an emotional level and in terms of the comedy that brings to the surface?
I think for me, there's two parts to it. I mean, just working with Melissa is just so fun. I mean, because she is such a great actor and so funny, and just being in the scenes with her is just like for me, I immediately get locked in because she's so good, and it just makes it easier for me. But in terms of like all the emotions and the unrequited stuff and the connections to, the other person, I mean, that's all like so human to me, and things that I've experienced in my life, and love is complicated, and and timing is, things often don't time out right, and that's just like real life. And so for me, it felt like really fun to explore that, because they were feelings and emotions that I had experienced in life at certain points.
Yeah. I think we were really lucky that we were like super comfortable with each other right away. I think that helped us kind of build that, that these two people have known each other a long time. And we talked a lot about that in the beginning. And yeah, it was like having fun with finding the little moments and the little looks, and just constantly playing and trying stuff. And yeah, we had a lot of fun.
It's really lovely how they have elements that are very opposing to each other as well. He's always kind of the person to like dive in emotionally first and then think about logistics second. And then for her, it's kind of the opposite. It's like, well, we need to pull back and do XYZ first before we can get too excited by anything. But I love kind of the middle space and the middle ground that exists between the two of them, where they're able to kind of pull each other more centerfold. And so for each of you, what were some of the dynamics that you really wanted to bring into your characters that really specifically exist in the scenes with the two of them, and how they do that to each other that are maybe a little bit different to the other relationship dynamics and personas that we see in them?
Yeah, I think it was a lot of it was in the stories, in the scripts,
in the backstory,
and in the backstory.
Yeah.
And I think, again, it was always, for me, the most fun part about playing comedy sometimes is just like a lot of experimenting on set, and a lot of, particularly when it's these sort of in-between scenes that are romantic, but also comedic, and playing and leaning into one side more than the other. And so, I think we definitely had fun with that. And again, it was just, we had a really easy synergy working together.
Yeah.
A lot just like happened.
Yeah. I think, and we one thing we talked about from the beginning was just how similar we were to each other. When we were getting to know each other, we were just like, there's so much, we just had so much in common, and it felt like, it felt oddly easy. Like
we had worked together before.
Yeah, totally.
I love that. Kind of off the back of that a little bit for you as well, Randall. It's so enjoyable to watch all these scenes and all the comedy that ensues from a character who, dives into everything 150% and then has to kind of almost walk himself back towards the 100 level afterwards. And so I was interested in just like how you found that dynamic of him diving, too far headfirst into a lot of things, and then what it looks like for him to kind of navigate backwards as he starts to reflect on everything for himself. And if, again, a lot of that was just in the writing for you and finding that in your
perspective. Completely. It was in the writing, and it was stuff that I identified with. I mean, I don't want to say I'm not the type to like dive in 150% like all the time, but I do really get the backing up to like, like that really like speaks to me. Just kind of, I mean, I think that ultimately he has great intentions, this character, and he has a good heart. And I think that that's what I always feel like, with Timmy, that's what I'm going to lead with, his like good intentions. He wants us to work. He wants his people to be happy, so, and like you say, it was all there on the page. So the writers are just doing they did such a great job, and it was just very fun to play.
I love that. And then lastly for you, Melissa, one of my favorite episodes is the special guy day for her, where everything's just falling apart and Timmy just kind of takes her out and takes care of her for the day. But also because throughout the day, as she gets more drunk, we get to see everything gradually coming to the surface that she's really just been trying to hold on to within herself. And I was just interested for you in a little bit of how you approached filming that particular episode, knowing, how much was going to come out by the end, and just finding where do these little moments come to the surface for her throughout.
That was probably the most fun episode for me to shoot and to prepare for. It was like very much looking forward to it. Also like very nervous to not screw it up. But yeah, I do think that I thought a lot about all the little, I think that was the episode where, you know, whatever backstory I hadn't really thought about or created for myself, I did for that episode, because there's so many little moments that obviously come from her history and everything before that like build into that episode, and all sort of come to a head. And then she's kind of on this new track after that episode, I think, for the rest of the season, kind of making more discoveries for herself. So yeah, it was really fun to just, they gave me a lot of just great stuff to fill with subtext and backstory, and you know, and to think about, yeah, her like levels throughout the episode and her sort of personal arc, and you know, that moment in the car when she gets so close, and but then doesn't.
It's such a great moment.
Yeah. And so yeah, it was just that episode was like actor dream. Yeah.
It's such a great episode for both of you, and such a wonderful first season. So congratulations on everything, and thank you so much.
Thank you. Good talking to you.